Hello and welcome back, Disruptors, to the 80th episode of the Oligarchy Disruptor podcast with your host, Bennett and of course we have Ashley down with us as well.
Hey guys.
Alrighty, so in this episode today, we have a fantastic episode for you. We have a couple of videos we're going to show you. Well, it's basically the same video shown in different ways. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. A lot of you guys have already seen this. It came out on the news a couple of days ago. But basically, it's that one, the police union chief here in New York that went ahead and had a press conference, and he basically started whining about all the shit that the police have to deal with and had to deal with in the last few days or weeks. So let's go ahead and just jump in, and we'll comment on it in the next one. Oh wait, this is the small. Here you go.
I am not Derek Chabon. They are not him.
Really quick, I think it's really funny how he says Chabon. Okay.
The entire time I was like, he's from the East Coast.
Literally.
He killed someone. We are restrained. And you know what? I'm saying this to all the cops here. Because you know what? Everybody's trying to shame us. The legislators, the press, everybody's trying to shame us into being embarrassed about our profession. But you know what? This isn't stained by someone in Minneapolis. It's still got a shine on it. And so do theirs. So do theirs. Stop treating us like animals and bugs and start treating us with some respect. That's what we're here today to say. We've been left out of the conversation. We've been vilified. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah, disgusting. Disgusting is what you and all the police have done over countless decades to communities of color, not to mention specifically Black people, Latinos, every minority you helped oppress over the years. I'm sure they're feeling the same exact way about you and laughing at every single fucking word you're saying along with the rest of the country.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, like the thing to really point out here is the anger in his voice is so apparent. And yet people want to say that the Black community is responding in an inappropriate way right now. These are words. These are words that are being said to these police officers. These are ideas that people are spewing. These are social media posts people are saying about police officers, and you're getting this angry about it. Imagine if your parents, your brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, best friends were being mass murdered. I'm sure you would be way more upset than just the sound of your voice. So I think it's really funny comparing that,
Exactly. And this is like only for like the short amount of time that this has kind of been going on. They're freaking out, crying. Like, this is basically a tantrum. That's the way that I see it, at least. Mm-hmm. And for the short amount of time and the little that they've had to endure with this, like, yeah, it wasn't you necessarily, but I'm sure you have seen things and you didn't say anything, even if you
This is the New York Police Department.
Exactly,
yes.
Exactly. I mean, and they have also been guilty of doing their own shit over the years. So, like, it's not anything unique to any one police department. That's what we have to take away from this, because like this systemic racism is institutionalized. It's like a systemic issue, like it's a just, so like it's everywhere. It's in every department, That's why we're seeing cases all over the country, from in the past like few years or in the last few like decades or whatever. Like, there's always cases in like New York, Chicago, LA, like all over the country, even in like those rural places. Like, sometimes shit happens there, there's less people. But so let's go ahead and jump into the next resource, which is the same video. It covers the same video, but this is being covered by Fox News. And I thought it would be very interesting to hear what the Fox News hosts and anchors would have to say about this. So I thought it would be interesting for you to hear the contrasting views between us and the Fox News hosts and their take on this. But notice how selective they are in that video that we showed you. So like there's an even longer clip of that whole like conference or whatever. We showed you like the longer clip that's like a minute or so long. They chose like a very selective part of this. Go ahead and watch and make your decision of that.
The head of New York City's largest police union railing against what he says is the way the New York Police Department has been treated by the media and lawmakers. Take a look.
I am not Derek Chauvin. They are not him. He killed someone. We didn't. Stop treating us like animals and bugs and start treating us with some respect. We've been vilified. It's disgusting.
Jesse, defund the police won't really be an issue if we can't find people that want to work as police anymore.
That's true. I mean, these people volunteer. They're not drafted. It's a noble profession. We should be thanking them. Whenever there's an emergency, who do you call? You call the police. When your baby stops breathing, when your friend gets raped.
When your baby stops breathing is a medical emergency in which you should call like a medical professional. Like that's what, even though he is technically right in like the things that he's bringing up right now and that he will also mention, that's the point. Like, you know, like that's why people in cities are considering defunding the police, because defunding the police doesn't mean taking away the police department and completely abolishing it. It means redirecting some of the funds that would go to them into other programs that would much benefit the community that the police were negatively affecting for so many years, much more, you know? So that's the whole point of that. And we shouldn't be doing all of these things. We shouldn't be sending the cops for like when your baby stops breathing or when you have these other emergencies that you shouldn't be calling the cops for. But I thought that was interesting to know. But let's go ahead and see what other bullshit he has said.
When your dad ODs, when your husband has a heart attack, when there's a massive collision on the highway, you call 911. And they're
literally all of those were medical emergencies, actually. Every single one besides the rape one was a medical emergency.
Emergency, you give the address and within minutes, squad cars are there. Do you know how much violence these people see? You know how much blood? You know how much danger? I mean, they wear bulletproof vests because they're being shot at. They're bad guys out there who take advantage. There's scam artists. There's con artists, identity thieves, strong arm robberies all over the place. And these police are there to protect you. And we just had a COVID-19 outbreak. You guys, everyone's sitting home, washing your hands, watching Netflix. They're out there patrolling the streets every day with masks on. They're going into people's homes when there's a domestic dispute. When some girl calls the police because her boyfriend is drunk and beating her up, they're there to help her and to help other people.
Notice how he doesn't necessarily like talk about the movement or give it any kind of credit or like doesn't acknowledge it really, you know,
at all
in his beginning like kind of spiel there. He just focuses on like what people call the police for, like blah 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 blah. But like that's what's fucked up about it, you know. You have something to say?
Yeah, I think that the craziest thing about everything that he was saying is it just entices fear. And I think that that is something that has really driven this push towards incarceration and towards the militarization of the police, is this fear that criminals are rampant, you know, are running rampant in the streets, and our communities are at a serious risk of these threatening individuals, when that's really not the case. And when he said about wearing the bulletproof vests, first off, I would just like to say that I have family and friends in law enforcement. I myself and my fiance have both considered being in law enforcement. I support our law enforcement folks, and I do believe that there are good cops out there and good people in general in law enforcement. With that said, they are given way too much money. And in turn, it makes them, it gives them the tools to become more violent. And when he was listing off those situations, so many of those situations, the police do not need to be called in. And by giving them all of this money, not only are we taking this money away from alternative solutions, but we're also incarcerating people who don't need to be incarcerated. And I think that it's important to have police, and they clearly do put their lives on the line for us, but they are also called into situations that they, number one, just do not have the education to be able to solve properly. And number two, they're given so much power from this money and to do violent things with. I mean, we have all these crazy specialized forces amongst our police department. And for what? When alternative solutions are better. There are plenty of other people that you can call for domestic violence disputes, for mental illness, for the homeless. This is not situations where people need to be incarcerated.
Yeah, I think the same kind of like concept of that like goes for like healthcare. When it comes to healthcare, preventative healthcare at large is much cheaper than actual treatment. So same kind of concept happens here. If we treat the symptoms early on, or no, we don't treat them. If we try to
prevent the symptoms from happening.
Yeah, exactly. If we try to prevent the symptoms from happening to where we don't actually get as bad to the point where we need like hardcore treatment or overhaul like we're at now, like that's what we should kind of be considering, and connecting the dots with that. I thought that was very interesting to kind of notice of that as well, because it's all kind of related,
It is. Well, and you have crime concentrated in these impoverished areas, which are also concentrated. And then you wonder, why? There obviously has to be a correlation between poverty and criminal activity. And I think that the majority, when you look at the statistics of the people who are in prison and in jails right now, the majority of them are in there for nonviolent offenses. These are people who are, and I'm not saying that it's right, but these are people who are selling drugs to pay their bills. These are people who are robbing people because they don't know any other way to live. And I'm not making excuses for them, because clearly they are doing something that's illegal. But maybe if we would invest in different solutions and alternative solutions for them instead of incarcerating them, why don't we help them? I just think that it's
crazy concept.
Clearly crazy. It's crazy. And it's like, police have clearly not been working this. Why don't we try something different?
Exactly. And that's what I feel like is super interesting to kind of note. And then you kind of hit on earlier mentioning that like how they were utilizing fear mongering again. And this is a very common or typical strategy or tool that they use to make their voters or supporters like come in like and support whatever they want them to. In this case, they're using fear mongering to help their base or supporters come along and toe the party line of keeping the police, like staying on the side of the police and like whatever, the side of law and order. But like Ashley and I said, like what we're proposing, or what people across the country or cities across the country are proposing, is not crazy or radical. It's even been done before. Like, for example, Camden, New Jersey, 7 years ago, they did the exact same thing. They dissolved their entire police department. And no one said shit then, No one threatened the law and order was using fear mongering to the extent that they are now with this, And they're saying like the looting, like what if they're gonna go into your houses? Like, bro, like
oh my gosh.
Like really like no one's gonna go into your broke ass house, bro. I don't know, like I just think that's crazy to kind of push. And a lot of the things that they talk about are just like straight up falsehood. So like that's why I don't really show Fox News so much, is because it's just like easy. It's easy to watch their videos and just like tear them apart because they're just fucking straight up lying to you. And the sad part is this is the most watched network year after year. I think for like close to like a decade.
Well, and don't get us wrong either. It's not that we're against conservative news outlets. That's not the case. CNN is just as bad at, spewing this propaganda for Democrats. So
Exactly. Do you want to continue watching the video, or do you want to just like split off and just like say F it? And just...
Yeah, whatever. I mean, did you want to talk about these statistics or no?
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude. I thought it was a fucking great time for you to show me your statistics that you were mentioning to me earlier. So what were they? Okay.
Yeah. So, it's just really crazy. I've always been super interested in the mass incarceration in this country. And so I was looking on all these different websites. Oh, I meant to talk about the sources that I had. I know one of them was the Bureau of Prisons. There was a few policy websites as well. I can share them, though, on the Facebook page so people know that these are legitimate statistics. But I think that it was really interesting to note that out of 1.29 million people that are in our state prisons, only 713 of those are for violent offenses. So I think that right there just shows the amount of cases where police do not probably need to be called. This is not a violent situation. This isn't a situation where people are at imminent danger. So I thought that was interesting. Also, there's 44,000 youth incarcerated right now in juvenile detention centers, and 6,700 of those crimes are for technical violations. So these are people who, messed up on probation, truancy, things like that, technical violations. Out of 44,000, 6,700 of those. Why are we incarcerating our youth? Why? The rates of recidivism in this country are so high that why would you want to start somebody so young? There should be so many other alternatives for our youth. I mean, that's startling to me that we're putting that many people in jail for technical violations.
I mean, not to mention just like our whole criminal justice system is just absolutely fucked. But the result of that system and our laws and the way everything has been like done over the years has led the United States to be the number one country in prisoners.
Yeah, we have 2.3 million people incarcerated in this country. 2.3 million.
And I believe that equates to about 25% of the world's prison population. So even
Isn't that crazy?
The United States only has 1% of the world's population, or maybe probably less than that, we have 25% of the world's prisoners. So that is a crazy statistic.
Yeah. And something that I think is so startling, and I am 100% for abolishing bail, especially cash bail. We have 746,000 people in jail, and 63% of those people have not been convicted of crimes. Over 60% of our jail population are people who literally can just not afford to leave the cell. That is why they're there, because they do not have the money to leave. Mm-hmm. That is crazy. If that doesn't scream privilege, I don't know what does. If that doesn't scream civil rights issue, I don't know what does. Especially when you hear about the conditions of some of these jails and prisons, and then you think that there are people in there who are not convicted of who are not felons, because I think that's, and I don't agree with it, but that is something that has kind of been ingrained, I think, in a lot of people's heads here, is that, they're criminals, so, they deserve to rot in there. Well, what about the other 63% of people who are rotting in there who possibly are going to get a not guilty?
Exactly.
So that's crazy to me.
100%. And I think that this is like just a big learning lesson for the majority of the American people that don't really pay attention to the really important stuff that's going on in the background. A lot of people are getting civics lessons right now in how government works and the criminal justice system, and they're waking up to how bad it is. I mean, most people had like a general conception that like Black people just are incarcerated at higher levels than everybody else. People of color in general, Latinos, you name it, were also in there. I just think that people are waking up and realizing to the terrible system that is currently in place. And I think it's amazing that people are just not letting up until real reform is in place. And I think that what we're starting to see now from the cities and governments is that they're actually listening to us. You know, like Minneapolis actually did like dissolve. Yeah. LA slashed their funding, 150 million for their police department. So like that's just going to keep going and going. I'm sure it will, as long as the people are out there making their voice heard, which is what we should have been doing from day one. But yeah, any other comments on this topic before we skedaddle?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, perfect. Well, I think you did an amazing job covering that with your statistics and stuff. Great due diligence from earlier. And I want to end this episode here. So once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It was a pleasure talking about all this stuff with you and educating when it comes to like the criminal justice system. This is something I know that Ashley is very passionate about. And, of course, she was aspiring to be a lawyer and all that stuff. So definitely listen to her when it comes to this stuff. I know I do. But yeah, so guys, if you haven't followed us on our social media, please definitely do so. We have our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a website where we write articles. Ashley and I write our own articles, so tackling our own topics and stuff. So I hope you guys will really like that. I'm sure you will. Anything else I'm missing, Ash? Oh yeah, reviews, right?
Yes. 5-star reviews.
Yeah, there we go. Apple Podcast, guys, for all you guys that are listening at home as well. So thanks again, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.
See you guys.